Welcome to another episode of our live stream, My Journey to the Trinity. Hope you're having a good night um, and had a uh, good Friday. Yep, Friday. So, yeah, yeah. Today, because of I don't know how many of you were with us yesterday, but one thing that happened yesterday, we were talking about somehow we got onto the subject of the Mahdi. And when we talked about the Mahdi, we also got into the subject about false Mahdis. Of course, all of them are false, but um, um, people that and there was some interesting claimants, people who claimed that they were the Mahdi and actually led a bunch of people. Uh, you know, got a bunch of people to follow them, and we have there was one guy in particular that our brother Yusuf Mughallaq uh, talked about, and I was particularly interested in. I think it's Sayyid Janapuri or something like that, or some of these names are a little bit strange. Um, Mansour, of course, they probably think my name is strange too, so I'm not making fun of them about that. But there's one guy in particular that we were talking about, and it just was very interesting, his story, and um, it just interested me that so many people are claiming to have claimed to be the Mahdi over the years, and it made me think. This is people always claim, not always, but many people do. They claim to be someone great, and of course, Jesus said that many will come claiming to be the Christ. And, I think there's a special ward in, mental institutions for people claiming to be the Christ. Now, I know there is in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, there's a special ward, and it's for people who go to Jerusalem and they have what's called Jerusalem syndrome, which is they go there and then all of a sudden they think they're one of the prophets, or they think they're an angel, or they think they're one of the two witnesses. When I lived there, I met a guy one time. I was walking down the street in the old city when I first went there in 1999. And I'll be honest, when I went there in 1999, when I first went there, I was very skeptical about everything because I had seen uh, so much in the church about Israel and prophecy and stuff like that. And I had really kind of become skeptical about all that. And, but I've changed. I've gone back to my passion for prophecy. And it's almost always Israel related. It's very much because that's what Jesus told us when they asked him about the signs of the end. He said, "Look to the holy place." And so Jesus himself told us that we need to look at the holy place. And where is the holy place? It's Jerusalem. So anyway, I no longer have that skepticism. And but a funny thing happened once. There was this guy. He was an American guy with a big beer belly, and I mean, I don't know that it was a beer belly, but he had a big belly, and he's wearing this bright red T-shirt, and he gave me a note, and I took it. I mean, I didn't know him from anybody, and so but I took it from him, and I started reading it, and you know what? It looked like, wow, this is great. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with this. I'm reading it. It's saying, how important it is to walk and obey the Bible and all this stuff. And then when I got to the bottom of it, it says signed. It was actually signed by the person. And the person who signed it was the prophet Elijah. So this guy was thought that he was the prophet Elijah. And so anyway, like I said, there's a special ward in Jerusalem at the in their mental institution for Jerusalem syndrome. It's a very real thing. And then one time while I was there, I was actually by the it's called the Jaffa Gate. It's the one that comes in from the street and by the Tower of David. And I was there when I heard somebody told me that there was a guy who was arrested and, whisked off to the Jerusalem Syndrome ward because he was riding onto the Temple Mount on a white donkey. And he was pretty sure that he was the Messiah. So anyway, people have delusions. And I think, but Jesus warned us. He told us that this was going to happen. And there's so many people have been claiming to be the Messiah over the years. And I would, a lot of people would not lump Muhammad in with them. They would not lump Muhammad. He would probably be considered more of a false prophet, because Jesus also says in that same passage in Matthew 24, there's going to be many false prophets and many false Christ. But I kind of think that he's also a false Christ because he's kind of took onto himself the attributes, not attributes in terms of his nature or anything like that, but attributed to himself functions of the Messiah, saying that he has to intercede for you on Judgment Day, that he's the one who Allah created the world for him. There's hadith that the world was created for him and that Allah prays to him and that his name is written on the throne of Allah. And, just delusions of grandeur that he had. And so I would consider Muhammad a false Christ, one of the false Christs. And he wanted to influence the world the way Jesus already had. And so anyway, but Jesus predicted that there was going to be many, many false Christs. And so many will come in my name. Maybe we ought to look at that prophecy before we get into this as Matthew 24. Okay, Matthew 24 is one of those, I do a Bible study on Monday nights and I talk about Matthew a lot. And one of the things about Matthew is that he was a tax collector, so he was a very good writer. He knew how to write shorthand. And because he knew how to write shorthand, he's the one in the book of Matthew, you see the longest sermons of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The longest sermons in the Bible are in Matthew. You have the 3-chapter Sermon on the Mount. You have the full chapter of the parables of the kingdom. You have the parable of the wise and foolish virgins, which is a whole chapter 25, and then you have the Olivet Discourse, which is a whole chapter again about the end of the world, and so Matthew is the one who recorded these sermons, and so this is Matthew 24. It's worth reading the whole thing. It says, Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to the buildings. This always cracks me up. It's like they're actually giving Jesus a tour of Jerusalem, and telling him, look at these beautiful buildings and stuff, And he said, do you see all these things? He asked. Truly, I tell you, not one stone here will be left upon another. Every one will be thrown down. And it was only 40 years later that actually happened. Actually, less than 38 years. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. So the very first thing Jesus says about the end of the age, watch out that no one deceives you. I'm just curious now, just because the word deceive, of course. I'm just kind of curious how that is in Arabic. I'm curious what the word used there. Ikazbak, maybe yikhda'ak, that make sure nobody deceives you. Nobody, the word for deceive, there's different words, one of them being makir, the best of deceivers. And so I just want to see this real quick. Let me just look at this. Okay. The Arabic Bible, they make it a little bit hard to use, this website. I like it, but it's a little bit hard to use. So, okay. Let me see here. Matthew 24. ثم خرج يسوع وقال لهم فأجاب يسوع وقال لهم انظروا لا يضلكم أحد. Okay, guys, I was trying to see if there was a name of Allah in this, which is Yumkur. Yumkur means to deceive. Well, that word is not there, which is one of the names of Allah, Al-Makir, Khair al-Makirin. But there is another name of Allah here that Jesus does use here. Yudilkum, Yudilkum. Yudil means to deceive, to mislead. And that actually is one of the names of Allah. Because it says, Yudillil min yasha wa yahdi min yasha. He deceives whom he wills, and he guides whomever he wills. And here Jesus is saying, it's funny, the first words Jesus says about this is that nobody yudilkum, deceives you. And the word in Arabic is yudil, which is one of the names of Allah, al-mudil, the deceiver, the misleader. And so there you have it. First thing Jesus says. I was expecting to find the word makir, because that's one of the names of Allah, but that's not there. But Yudil is, and that's also one of the names of Allah. So Al-Mudil. Okay. فَإِن كَثِيرِينَ سَيَأْتُونَ بِإِسْمِي قَائِلِينَ أَنَا هُوَ الْمَسِيحُ وَيُضِلُّونَ كَثِيرِينَ. He's saying, for many will come in my name. Okay, let's see what it says here. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. So that's the first warning Jesus gives us, is that there's going to be many people claiming to be Jesus, claiming to be the Messiah. Okay, so anyway, I just want to look at this because it is there's so many people who have done this, and so let's just look at some of the ones who have done it, and this is also, this kind of dovetails into the subject yesterday, which is the subject of the false Mahdis, because there actually is a list of people who've claimed to be the Mahdi. There's actually one guy who claimed to be both the Mahdi and the Christ. And so let's just look at some of these false Christs. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and start from the beginning here. And there's not in any particular order, but, this is the one whose picture I put on. The Man-Son, Charles Manson. He claimed to be Jesus, and yes, he was in the 60s, in the druggy generation of the 60s. He's the one who claimed that based on his name, that he started thinking of himself as to be the Christ. He thought that he was Jesus Christ. And one of the ways that he thought that was because of the name Man-Son, the Son of Man. And so anyway, he wanted to start what he called a revolution called Helter Skelter. And so just where did he get that, first of all? Where did he get that name Helter Skelter from? Well, Helter Skelter was actually the name of a slide. You know where kids play in the park, and they have swings and they have slides. Well, there was a slide in England. They were from England, and so there was a slide in England called Helter Skelter. And the kids would get on this Helter Skelter, this slide, and they would, slide down just like kids. And so based on those words, he was super into the Beatles. He was super into the Beatles. And, the Beatles were like everything back then. Here's the lyrics of the song that Helter Skelter by the Beatles. Okay. It says, when I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide where I stop and I turn and I go for a ride till I get to the bottom and I see you again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't you want me to love you? I'm coming down fast, but I'm miles above you. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Come on, tell me the answer. Well, you may be, okay, whatever. Go helter skelter, yeah. Helter skelter, helter skelter. We'll look out. She's coming down fast. Yes, she is. Yes, she is coming down fast. So I know that's. No, yeah, I wasn't really showing you guys the picture of it, but oops, let me get rid of this. Yeah, so based on that, Helter Skelter. Charles Manson thought that Helter Skelter was an event that was going to happen where I think there was, you can read about it in the book. There's actually a book called Helter Skelter about Charles Manson, written by the attorney who prosecuted him. His name is Victor Bugliosi. And it talks about, this, it was racist. I think, the white people are going to be over the black people or some crazy thing, and there was racism, but there was lots of drugs involved and music and stuff. And he really, and so in order to get this thing started, he went on a killing spree in Southern California. And they went and they killed a bunch of people, his followers did. And one of the most famous killings was this actress. Her name is Sharon Tate, and she was on the show The Beverly Hillbillies. I don't know if you remember the show The Beverly Hillbillies, but that was Jethro on The Beverly Hillbillies, and the blonde girl, that's Sharon Tate. She was killed. She's one of the first people killed by the cult, Charles Manson cult. And there's also LaBianco. The LaBiancos were the owners of a big supermarket chain, and they were killed. And then they also killed the heiress of the Folgers Coffee Company. You know, Folgers, the woman who's going to inherit the Folgers Coffee Company. They killed her too, and I think there were several other killings. It was called, it was a terrible time in Southern California. So anyway, all of that was brought about by Charles Manson, and he thought he was Jesus. He had a farm. He had in the canyon. He had a farm, not a farm, but like a ranch or something, where they were in Death Valley, and it was out in the desert, and so they there's actually a song about this. He had connections. Somehow there was connections with the Beach Boys. You guys have heard of the Beach Boys, famous group in the 70s. I wish they all could be California. Yeah, all those crazy songs. There was a connection with them. There was a group called the Mamas and the Papas. They had a song called 1230, and the chorus of the song says, "Young girls are coming to the canyon." And some people interpreted that as they were going to the ranch where Charles Manson was. And so this thing was very intertwined with the whole 60s culture. Okay. And he really was riding that thing. He wanted to be a musician himself. And there was a Beach Boys connection, Mamas and Papas, the Beatles. The biggest thing was the Beatles. And the Beatles, he even says, that Revelation chapter 9, in Revelation chapter 9, it talks about these four angels or four locusts, the locusts that are coming out of hell, out of the abyss. And they had hair like women. They had hair like, and their voices was like the sound of thunder and stuff. And he interpreted that to be the Beatles. And and there was a song by the Beatles called Revolution 9. So there's Revelation 9, which talks about those locusts. And then he interpreted it as Revolution 9, which was a song by the Beatles. You say you want a revolution. Well, I know we all want to change the world. Very famous song by the Beatles. So that song, Revolution 9, he interpreted as Revelation 9. Dude, this guy was whacked. He came up with all this stuff, and with that druggy generation, so he started, and it was in the desert. That was interesting. He was in Death Valley in the desert, and an interesting thing that in the book Helter Skelter, which was written about Charles Manson, there's a verse from the Bible in there, and the verse is, "If they say he's out in the desert, don't go." When Jesus is saying when he's returned, says some people are going to say he's in a secret hidden room. Don't believe them. If they say he's out in the desert, don't go follow. Which could apply to Muhammad and to Charles Manson. But so that was actually in the book Helter Skelter. They said if they say he's out in the desert, don't go. Well, he was in the desert. He was at Death Valley. So anyway, that's Charles Manson. That was, a couple of the ones that I'm not going to mention, but who also American false Christs. Among the most famous was Jim Jones. Also, Jim Jones was in San Francisco. He ended up taking a bunch of people to Guyana in South America. He claimed that he was Jesus. He started having delusions that he was the Christ. And he ended up, that's where the Kool-Aid thing happened, where he made big batches of Kool-Aid and he put cyanide in the Kool-Aid. And he told the people, when the Americans were coming to find out what he was doing with all these people, he had like 900 people. He told the people, if you really believe and you're a real believer, then drink this Kool-Aid. And they did. And like it was 900 people died. So that was the Jim Jones. He also claimed to be Jesus. And then there was another guy. His name is David Koresh. Remember that was I think it was in Texas, Waco, Texas. That was Bill Clinton went and they burned that place with the people inside. Yeah. So anyway, so many, and there's many others who of lesser consequence, not as well known, but let's look at some of the other false Christs. Now this is interesting. You know what? False Christs aren't just men. There was a woman. There's this woman right here. There was a woman who thought that she was Christ. And let me just find out. Let me just go back and find this one. Oh, dude. Okay, David Koresh, an American cult leader who played a central role in the Waco siege as the head of the branch Davidians. Okay. Maybe out of, this was one of the more recent ones, and let me just. Not saying nothing about his hairstyle, but I'll leave that one up to you guys there too. Koresh. Oh, you guys, I think that he has an Islamic last name. Koresh is the way that Persians call Cyrus. Cyrus. And oh man, I don't know if this is a connection, but if they wrote a book about him, I wonder if it's going to say that Koresh, Cyrus, there's actually a verse in the Bible that says, Cyrus, my anointed. Cyrus, my anointed. And I'm wondering if that maybe led to some of his delusions, of being the Christ. So now I don't know that much about him, but maybe you guys do know. Let me just put his picture up here real quick. So you guys, this is David Koresh. Okay. Died August 17th, 19. Oh, no. He was born August 17th. And then I believe he died in 1987. That's when the Waco standoff happened. And and so that was a, something else I heard, you guys, that, let me just see here. I want to get that one picture for you guys. I wanted to tell you, what was her name? I think her name, the woman who claimed to be the Messiah, her name was Anne. Okay, yeah, it is. Anne Hamilton Byrne. Okay, Anne Hamilton Byrne. Let me just put this up here again to show you. Okay. All right. Let me just. Okay. Anne Hamilton Byrne. Okay. She had a cult called The Family. Now, you guys, that's The Family. Wow. You know why that's interesting is because Charles Manson also called his cult The Family. It was called the Manson Family. Isn't that interesting that these people, these lost souls who don't have a family, and they're looking for a family, and they come up with these cultic false families? And what does the Bible say? That the Lord puts the lonely in families. But here, this is Satan's counterfeit, okay? Also known as the Santinkitan Park Association, or the Great White Brotherhood, an Australian New Age group formed in the mid-1960s under the leadership of Anne Hamilton Byrne. Okay. The group taught a mixture of Western and Eastern religious doctrines, with Hamilton Byrne claiming to have been a reincarnation of Jesus. It was widely described as a cult. Well, that sounds like a cult. Okay. The group was the center of controversy in Victoria, Australia, raided by the police in August of 1987. There were allegations of child abuse. Okay. Okay. Well, they arrested her, and she had to pay a fine of $5,000. So that's all that happened to her. Okay, but within the group, Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna were the enlightened beings who came down to earth to aid humanity. So they're the mixture there, a demonic mixture. So, shoot, wow. Okay, so yeah, so false Christ, those delusional, okay. There's more than one woman too. Okay, okay. Now this guy. Now, if there's any Jews out there, they're going to get mad at me about this one. This is a guy that actually some Jews consider him the Messiah, and his name is Schneerson, and he's considered to be the Messiah. I mean, this guy's picture is all over Israel. If you go to Israel, this guy's picture is all over Israel. He died a few years ago, but yeah, as Rabbi Schneerson. Let me just read what it says about him. I'm just kind of curious because it's so interesting that he's all over Israel. They have his picture all over the place in Israel. And let me see, Rabbi Schneerson. Let me just go ahead and look here. Schneerson. Schneerson was actually in New York. So it's Menachem Mendel Schneerson, a 19th century. Oh, no. Okay. He was born in 1902 and he died in 1994. Okay. He was the leader of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, a Hasidic group that almost came to an end with the Holocaust, but was transformed into one of the most influential movements in religious Jewry, with an international network of over 5,000 educational and social centers. The institutions he established include kindergartens, schools, drug rehab centers, disabled, and synagogues. Schneerson published more than 400 volumes. He's noted for his contributions to the Jewish religious thought. Okay. But let me see if it says anything about his messianic. Okay, Schneerson had two younger brothers who were murdered by Nazi collaborators. Okay, during his youth, he received a private education, marriage and family life. Paris, New York. He came to New York. Okay, and okay. Okay, international outreach, Hanukkah, Sunday, okay. Become righteous, Sadiq, okay. Talks about his death and everything. Okay, Messianism right here. Schneerson had a passion and a desire to raise awareness of the coming of the Messiah. During his life, he had many admirers hoped he would be revealed as the Messiah. Okay, so he was interested in bringing about, or not bringing it about, but he was interested. He predicted the coming of the Messiah, and his followers started, some of them thought that he would be the Messiah. Although Schneerson constantly objected to any talk that he could be the Messiah, this notion sparked controversy, particularly among those who were unfamiliar with these traditional teachings. Detractors criticized the children's songs with the words, "We want Mashiach now, we don't want to wait," that Schneerson commended. Since Schneerson's passing, the Messianic movement has largely shrunk, although some followers still believe him to be the Messiah. Okay. All right. So, the interesting thing about him, is he, like I said, if you go to Israel, his picture is everywhere in Israel. Lots of people think he is the Messiah. So, okay. So that's a Jewish false Messiah. Now, this guy is also claimed to be the Messiah. They're very famous. This guy is actually the one who brought about another Jewish false Messiah. He was from 132 to 135 AD, and he's the one who led to the expulsion of the Jews from Israel, because when the Romans were in control, he claimed to be the Messiah and stuff, and there was a revolt called the Bar Kokhba revolt, and that's when the Romans said that's it, and they exiled the Jews out of Israel. And so this is another, and some people considered him to be the Messiah. Okay, Simon Bar Kokhba. Okay, and if you read about the Bar Kokhba revolt, you'll see a lot of stuff about him. Do we have any Muslims here? I see some. Church of Morocco, welcome. God bless you, brother. Houston, Nicodemus, Protestant believer. God bless you guys. So, okay. All right, let's continue here. All right. Simon Bar Kokhba. All right. All right, here's another one. Now, this is a guy called Father Divine. Now, this is an African-American false Messiah. He was born in 1938, and I guess 1876, and he died in 1965. And he was considered by his followers to be Christ. Let's look at what it says about him. List of Father Divine. I know. Let's see. Okay, Father Divine. His name is George Baker, African-American spiritual leader from around 1907 until his death. He claimed to be God. So he just actually claimed to be God. So, but he died in 1965. So, okay. So, first time I've seen that. Now, this guy is, his name is Miente and Lou Vortuyezen. These guys were in Holland. Okay, these guys were in Holland. Let me see if this is the right. Okay, no. Let me just look at. Okay, this guy right here. It's kind of interesting. Let me look at what it says about Vierten. Okay, Blue Vierten. Let me just 1 second here, you guys. I was going to Vorthui. Okay, Lou, okay, Bur of Brisland, he had a strong religious interest, and probably under the influence of his father, he was the founder of a movement in the Netherlands, that's in Holland. Okay, and he sold his boat and took up employment. Oh, he after a failed marriage, he met Mien Wirtz, that's the lady in the picture, and began to believe under her influence that he must save the world from the devil. Okay, and he's in Amsterdam. Um, from his market stall, he preached to his customers that he was the resurrected body of Jesus Christ. He would elaborate further in a nearby cafe, and a group of followers began. Wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah, interesting. I've never heard of these guys before. A lot of these guys, it's the first time I'm hearing about them. So, yes, until his death, he believed that. Many will come in my name. Okay. Now, this guy's famous. Everybody knows him, Sun Myung Moon. Okay. Sun Myung Moon. Now, he, very famous. He did a big speech in Las Vegas in 2010 here. I think he died. I'm not sure if he died yet, but I used to know a guy from Brazil who totally followed this guy, and he believes he is Jesus Christ as well. He believes he's a reincarnation of Christ, and very popular. They're the one. He's the one who came up with the movement of the Moonies. You know, they're at the airports. You see them selling flowers and stuff like that. You know, they stand on street corners, sell flowers. They wear those yellow outfits and stuff. So, here, let's see. Now there's this guy named Dosithios. Dosithios. I wonder if there's it means the gift of God, also known as Nathaniel, was a Samaritan religious leader. He was the founder of a Samaritan sect assumed to be Gnostic in nature, and is reputed to have known John the Baptist and been either a teacher or rival of Simon Magus. Okay, so this was way back in Bible times almost. And the thing about Simon Magus, you guys, he's in the book of Acts. And Simon Magus, he was the one that the magician from Samaria who was called the power of God. And then Peter rebuked him and he became blind for like 3 days, and then he got his sight back. And he was the one who said, can you give me money to buy the Holy Spirit? Is terrible. And Peter says, you perish with your money, and pray that, God will forgive you for thinking you could buy the gift of God with money. Well, he became a Christian, I think, or he repented or claimed to repent, but he fell back into his witchcraft and became an even more powerful magician and more famous. In fact, there's a statue. I think there's a statue of him in Rome. So, but he's the one, you guys. He's one of the first ones to come up with this idea that Jesus didn't die and somebody else was made to look like him. Where does that Basilius? There's a guy named Basilius who would take that, but Simon is the one who first came up with that. And where have you heard that before? So, okay, Father Divine, I told you about him. Okay, this is like one of the Muslim ones called Abdur Rasheen. It was a guy whose name was at his birth Oscar Ernst Bernhard. Doesn't sound Arab. Okay, he's from Germany, and he's known for his group called In the Light of Truth, the Grail Message. Okay, so he died in 1941. So all these people claimed to be the Christ. Okay, now there's this guy, very famous, Baha'u'llah. He's the one, he was Persian, okay, and he claimed to be the Messiah. And he's the founder of the Baha'i, who's a Persian. It's in Persia that this was, which has an Islamic element. He was Muslim, and Baha'u'llah, I'm wondering if that means the glory of Allah, and his name was Hussein al-Nuri. He died, he was born in 1817, but the Baha'i movement is very big. In fact, I think the Prime Minister of Palestine Liberation Organization, Mahmoud Abbas, I think he is a Baha'i. I think he's a Baha'i, and they have a huge, a beautiful temple in Jerusalem. Not Jerusalem, excuse me. In Haifa. Yeah, it's a really beautiful. Here, let me show you the picture of it. Yeah, they have a beautiful facility, which is kind of like their Vatican, I think. It's kind of their Vatican in Haifa, and it's in honor of this guy, Baha'u'llah. Okay, let me show it to you here. Okay, right here. See that? Beautiful, right on the shore there of Haifa. And it's right next to, I'm not right next to, but very close. It's very close to the Mount Carmel. It's very close to Mount Carmel, where Elijah and the prophets of Baal had their showdown. And right now there's this thing next to it. And so, so this is I think this is like their holy of holies for the Baha'i. So, that's another false Christ, Baha'u'llah. And there's many of these Islamic. Okay, there's this guy, Muhammad Ahmed. He also claimed to be the Messiah, and I believe he. Let me just find out exactly. If I'm not mistaken, okay, his name is Muhammad Ahmed bin Abdullah bin Fahd, was a Sudanese religious and political leader. In 1881, he claimed to be the Mahdi and led a successful war against Egyptian rule in Sudan, which culminated in a remarkable victory over them in the siege of Khartoum. Okay, so he claimed to be the Mahdi. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he also claimed to be the Messiah. Okay, and he's the only one who claimed to be both the Mahdi and the Messiah. And he created a vast Islamic state extending from the Red Sea to Central Africa, and founded a movement. Okay, and it's a Mahdist state after the Mahdi. Okay, so wow. Okay. Okay, now these are three. These are a couple of other false Christs. Sergei Torok, who started to call himself Vissarion, founder of the Church of the Last Testament and a spiritual community, Ikopolis Tiburkul, in southern Siberia. Okay, now I think this guy's famous. He's got really long hair. He's fat, and he very well known. There's pictures of him wearing flowing red gowns and stuff like that, and people just kind of, worshiping him. He claims to be Jesus. Then there's Alan John Miller. Okay, 1962. Founder of Divine Truth, a religious movement in Australia, also known as A.J. Miller, claims to be Jesus of Nazareth through reincarnation. He was formerly a Jehovah's Witness. Okay, so from the frying pan to the fire there. Okay, I showed you that guy. Okay, I showed you that guy. This woman here, just to show that it's not just these delusions of messiahship are not just men. Let me see. Okay, well, Sun Myung Moon. I think I showed you guys all of them now. What? Oh, it's for
Do you have the one in Russia?
yeah. Let me see if I can show you the picture of the guy in Siberia.
It's not in Siberia.
It's not Siberia.
It's Serbian.
Sergei Antolovich.
We have a wife.
Okay. Well, there's this guy Vissarion who I told you about, but I actually do have his picture here. He looks like he has delusions of messiahship. He calls himself Vissarion, and he's got this throne. Okay. I mean, this guy's been going for a long time. You know, it's interesting that how these cult leaders are able to continue for so long in their deception. And is that him?
This is the one currently
in Russia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think there's another guy too. But let me go ahead and put this guy up here and show it to you. Oh, you know what? I'm not sure if I saved it. Sorry. And you know what? I think you guys, I didn't save it. And so what I could do is just show it to you. Share screen. Yeah, here's this guy. He kind of looks, if you ask me, he looks like Willie Nelson. You know that. This is his picture here of Vissarion. He has a throne, an eagle throne. So Russian, he who gives new life. Yo boy. Wow, his name means he who gives new life. Russian spiritual teacher, Church of the Last Testament. Okay. According to his followers, at the age of 29, Sergei had a spiritual awakening, gave his first public teaching of the awakening. Okay, he founded the church near Petropavlovka. Since then, Christianity-based religion movement has amassed more than 10,000 followers around the world, with around 4,000 living in a few settlements in Siberia. He believes in reincarnation, veganism, harmonious human relations, and the end of the world. Okay.
This guy's Australian.
Oh, okay. He also has Buddhism, and he claims, okay, Torop claims that in 1990 he was reborn as Vissarion, meaning he who gives new life, claiming to be a returned Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is just before the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. So yeah, lots of these guys, man. Very interesting. So yes, yeah, lots of followers, and I wonder if he's got a Patreon account, where he gets lots of money. Yeah, people who get deceived, they start. People who get deceived, there's the Ahmadi movement. Yes, I think that was Muhammad Ahmad, said about the Ahmadi movement. I believe that he was Muhammad Ahmad. Testimony of Jesus Christ the Spirit. All prophets have to come with the testimony of Jesus. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, the reason I did this is because of the yesterday we talked about the false Mahdis. And it was just interesting, the one guy who went and took over the Kaaba in Saudi Arabia and actually shot a bunch of people. I think 300 or killed about 300 people. And he was claiming to be the Mahdi. And so I thought, well, I was going to actually do something about the false Mahdis because there's so many of them. But then I thought, you know what? I think, I was more interested in doing about the false Christs because Jesus predicted that, So, and it's a kind of along the same vein. In fact, some of them overlap because some of them think they're both the Mahdi and Jesus. So, so all right. Well, shoot. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of. Oh, there's something else too interesting that that I've never known before, but it's here. Let me just read this to you, and then make of it what you will. But it's the first time I've heard this. Let me just find this here. Abu Lake. Okay. Okay. Yahweh ben Yahweh, a black national separatist, started the Nation of Yahweh. Alleged. Oh, wow. These guys are murderers too, you guys. He murdered lots of people. Interesting that there's so many murders along these cults here. So there's Jose Luis de Jesus. Okay, I've heard about him before too, and based in Miami, Florida. Claimed to be both Jesus Christ returned and the Antichrist. So he's both Jesus and the Antichrist, and he has a 666 tattoo on his arm, referred to himself as Jesucristo Hombre. Oh, wow. Well, you could tell there's psychological issues, but I think there's also satanic issues involved here, lots of them. Cyrus the Great was called, okay, but Cyrus, the Bible calls him Messiah, not the Messiah, but, okay. Now, the one that I was really interested in, I haven't found it here, but let me just go back and I'll just read you what it says here. It says Adolf Hitler of Nazi Germany has been claimed by some practitioners of esoteric Nazism to be the Messiah, including Colin Jordan, Savitri Devi, Miguel Serrano. Hitler never claimed to be the Messiah during his lifetime, having had, okay. Okay, well, shoot. Okay, so I've never heard about that before, that Hitler claimed to be the Messiah, or that Hitler was, was, let me just see this now. I'm kind of curious now. Was Hitler an atheist? Okay. Hitler hated Judaism, but he loathed Christianity too. Okay. All right. Well, that was interesting. I never thought about Hitler being a false Christ, but in a sense, the charisma, Christ the word charisma comes from, Christ, and so his charisma, that he had over the people. Maybe that's what they're talking about there. So anyway, so I just wanted to just do a little thing there, talking about that. And can one save? I don't know. Okay. I don't know if we had a little bit of a argument going there. Yes.
Nasarian was arrested, actually.
Who?
That Nasarian guy,
Oh, he was arrested by the.
the government.
Oh,
saying
okay.
that people were bodily getting harmed. Like, here,
Oh, okay. That guy, by the way, the Vasarian, the guy was arrested.
he's going transported by plane after being detained.
Yeah. You know what, you guys, this is kind of, it's almost comical. It's almost comical, some of it, but it's very, Jesus said this is going to happen, and many people will be deceived. And look how many people have been deceived already by these false Christs. And, I've never, the Quran obviously never calls Muhammad the Messiah, but the Gospel of Barnabas, which is beloved by Muslims, does say that Muhammad is the Messiah. So, take that for take that for what it's worth. So, yes. All right. Well, do we have any Muslims who would like to come on, or anybody who'd like to come on, have anything they'd like to add to what we've talked about here today? I'll put on the invite here. Anybody would like to come on, and there's a link. Feel welcome. Yes. So, yeah, the Bible says, John says that many antichrists have already gone into the world, even in their day. Even in their days, so many antichrists had already been in the world. Rasputin, an example, was recently featured in Marvel Comics, getting punched by Iron Man for being a fanatic. Really? Rah, rah, Rasputin. Okay, sorry, you guys. I got in trouble for that. But there's an interesting thing about the Rasputin, bringing in the Rasputin angle in Russia. There was a really famous song, disco group in the 70s. What was their name? They did the song "By the Rivers of Babylon." It was two girls and a guy. It's a black guy and two girls. What was they called? Anyway, they had a song called Rasputin, which was their most famous song, and they sang that song 10 million times. Oh yeah, Boney M is what it was called, right? And that song Rasputin was like their main song, and it was about this guy who claimed to be a priest, but he was cheating with women and doing all this stuff. And he died. Rasputin died in this Russian city. I can't remember the name of the city, but the funny thing is that the singer of that song was in that city where Rasputin died, and he died there. And it wasn't like he was sick or anything. He just died there. And so I think when you play with stuff, yeah, it sounds weird. It reminds me kind of Whitney Houston. How did she die? She died in a bathtub, right? And then her daughter, how did her daughter die? Also in a bathtub. I don't know. I think there's weird deaths. Yeah, there's lots of weird deaths and stuff. So was poisoned. Oh, was he poisoned? Okay. Yes. Rasputin was poisoned and shot. But the guy from that group, what was the guy? I'll find it for you guys. Boy, we really changed the subject here. Okay, this is the guy. His name is Bobby Farrell. Okay, and Farrell's okay. Who? Okay, Farrell's next show was supposed to be New Year's Eve in Rimini, Italy. The lead singer of German disco group was found dead in a Russian hotel room on Thursday. So almost a week. Okay. So and it was the same place where same city that Rasputin died in. So anyway, weird deaths. So all right, you guys. Well, I think we've had our fill of false Christs. Now let's talk about the real Christ. Okay. Hallelujah. Hey, babe, get the guitar. Guitar. You know, whenever I talk about stuff like this, I always like to do some worship and stuff just to kind of get out of that realm. Yeah. I remember when I was in Bible school, one day we were talking about, demonic stuff. And I tell you, afterwards, we had a long worship service just to get that, to kind of change our mind, to get our minds off of all that stuff. Thank you, babe. So just want to do a couple of worship songs. It's only today's Friday. Huh? Oh, okay. 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 Brother, sister. Oops. Yes, you're allowed to dance. Yes. Church of Morocco is asking, are we allowed to dance? Of course. I'm a charismatic, remember. Yeah, Rep Marion, he was no Christian. He was but I think they thought that he was in the song, it says he claimed to be a preacher of the word of God and stuff. Oh, he was a monk? Oh, he was? Okay, they say he was a monk. So you could be a monk without being Christian, right? So I'll do a couple of Arabic songs. نشكر كل حين إلهنا الأمين نشكر كل حين إلهنا الأمين من أنعم بالفداء الثمين من أنعم بالفداء الثمين هللويا مجدا هللويا شكرا هللويا نسجد لاسم المسيح العظيم نسجد لاسم المسيح العظيم نشهد للجميع عن حبه البديع نشهد للجميع عن حبه البديع فهو صفوح ودوما سميع فهو صفوح ودوما سميع شكرا هللويا نسجد لاسم المسيح العظيم نسجد لاسم المسيح العظيم. All right, I'll do an English song too. Let's see, one of my it's not that well known, but it's one of my favorite worship songs. So make your face to shine on me, and my soul knows very well you lifted me. I'm cleansed and free, and my soul knows very well. The mountains fall, I stand by the power of your hand, and in your heart of hearts I'll dwell, and my soul knows very well. The mountains fall, I stand by the power of your hand, and in your heart of hearts I'll dwell, and my soul knows very well, and my soul knows very well. All right. Just want to do a couple songs, you guys. So thanks for hanging out with us. And I don't know, don't seem we've got any Muslims or ex-Muslims coming on. If anybody would like to come on, there's the link, you guys. God Man. That's a new name. I haven't heard that named before, but I mean, I've heard it. Jesus called the God Man. He is the God Man. But yes. All right, you guys. Well, if no one's coming on, then we'll go ahead and call it a night, I think, even though it's Friday night. Usually we go later on Friday nights, but that's cool. You can go have time with your families, and the Lord Jesus bless you. And if you haven't done it, please do it now. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Jesus, help me. Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, come into my heart. Yesur, sa'idni. Yesur, samahni. Yesur, udkhul qalbi. Oh, it's Saturday morning already for you. All right. God bless you guys. You have a blessed night and or day. Yeah, you guys are, it's already daytime over there. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thanks.
If you have ever wondered why dull apologists lie so much, it's because on a rare occasion that they tell the truth. This happens.
One of the reasons I accepted Islam was the scientific miracles. I'll be honest with you. And now we know that this whole scientific miracles was absolute nonsense.
That the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say.